stranger knocked on my door and said he's been in love with my wife for years. That's how I discovered her double life. The knock at the door. A man came and said that he has loved my wife for a long time and cannot live without her. That was the first sentence out of his mouth. No small talk. No wrong address. Just that. I'm Daniel, 34. My wife is Emily, 32. We've been married 6 years, together 9. If you scrolled our socials last month, you'd see brunch photos, matching hiking boots, me flipping pancakes while she laughed in my hoodie. Picture perfect, the kind that collects heart emojis from people you haven't seen since high school. The man on our porch? Chris, 35M. Trim beard, perfect posture, holding a grocery store bouquet like it was a passport. He looked nervous but certain, like someone about to sign a lease. Emily was in the kitchen slicing apples. She heard his voice and went very still, knife hovering midair, then pasted on a smile so bright it made my teeth ache. I wish I could say I slammed the door. Instead, I said, I think you've got the wrong house, because I'm painfully polite when I'm confused. Chris shook his head. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to be honest. Emily's smile flickered. Then came her first story. Daniel, he's a client from the studio. He's been struggling. He gets attached. She touched my arm, light as a feather, the way you touch a cat right before you put it in a carrier. If this had happened a year ago, I'd have laughed it off. But little things had collected like lint, late design runs, a new perfume that arrived without a box, her phone learning the face-down position like it was yoga. 2 weeks ago, she started wearing a delicate necklace I didn't buy, and when I asked, she called it a sample for a brand deal. We don't do brand deals. I stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind me. Say your piece, I told him. He swallowed. I tried to stay away. She said she was leaving. She said you were kind, but distant. I believed her. I still do. He didn't look smug. He looked tired. I should have told him to leave. Instead, I asked the dumbest question of my life. How long? He looked at his shoes. A year. Inside, a glass set down too hard. I could feel my heartbeat in my eyelids. I told Chris to go, politely, because that's apparently my brand. And when I turned back, Emily was in the hallway with that bright smile again, already building the second story. He's fragile, Dan. You know how I volunteer. Sometimes people read into kindness. Kindness. That word felt like a rug being tugged. I wanted to believe her so badly it hurt. But then I saw it. The grocery store bouquet he'd brought. White lilies, her favorite. And on the little card, not a name, just a tiny drawn compass. The same tiny compass she'd doodled in the margins of our grocery list last week. That was the moment the floor tilted. That night felt like walking through fog. Every sound was louder, every silence longer. Emily pretended to clean up dinner, but she was scrubbing the same plate for 20 minutes. I didn't push right away. I just watched her, trying to decide whether the woman standing there was the same one who used to fall asleep on my chest during bad movies. Finally, I said, you want to tell me who he really is? She sighed dramatically, like I was being unreasonable. Daniel, please. He's a former client. I did some freelance work for him last year, and he became fixated. She set the plate down carefully, her voice soft, calm, practiced. He doesn't understand boundaries. I didn't want to worry you. Fixated enough to show up at our door with your favorite flowers? I asked. Her eyes flicked up, just a second too slow. He probably Googled me, she said quickly. It's not hard to find that kind of stuff. It was such a small lie, but I could feel it. Lies have a texture once you've heard enough of them. Too smooth, too even. That night, she tried to make everything normal. She poured wine, lit a candle, asked me about work. I just stared at her, searching for something genuine. She reached across the table, rested her hand on mine, and said, you trust me, right? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to end the nightmare before it began. But something about that moment, the way she squeezed my hand, the faint tremor in her voice, felt like performance, not remorse. The next morning, she was cheerful. Too cheerful. She kissed me goodbye, packed her bag for a client meeting, and left in a rush. I stood there for a few minutes, staring at the empty coffee cup she'd left on the counter. Then curiosity, or maybe instinct, pushed me to check the location of her phone. We'd shared our locations for safety after a road trip years ago. She wasn't at her office. She was across town, in a quiet residential area I didn't recognize. I drove there. Slowly. Heart pounding, fingers tight on the wheel. I parked half a block away and waited. And then I saw her, my wife, standing on the porch of a small blue house. She was smiling, hair tied back, her body language soft and familiar. The door opened, and there he was, Chris. He leaned down and kissed her cheek like he'd done it 1,000 times. She laughed, that laugh I used to think was mine. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, every muscle stiff. I didn't confront them. Not yet. Instead, I drove home and waited. When she came back hours later, she was glowing. She kissed my cheek and said, "Traffic was awful." I looked her in the eyes and said, "Yeah, must have been." And for the first time in our marriage, she didn't meet my gaze. The next few days were a strange play where only I knew the script. Emily moved through the house humming, making pancakes, sending cheerful texts to her friends, all while I pretended to be the same oblivious husband she thought she'd built. But I was paying attention now. Every detail mattered, every pause, every change in tone. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, was now permanently glued to her hand. She even took it into the shower. That Saturday morning, I told her I had to work late. In reality, I followed her. I'd installed a small dash camera in my car the day before, more out of desperation than cleverness. She drove downtown, then into the same quiet neighborhood, the blue house. She parked, walked up the steps, and didn't even look around this time. Confident, comfortable. When I saw Chris open the door and pull her into a hug, I realized this wasn't a fling. This was routine. I went home and sat in the living room for hours, trying to breathe. My wedding ring felt like a weight pressing into my skin. At 8 p.m., she texted, "Heading home. Grab dinner with the girls' red heart." I stared at that heart emoji until it blurred. When she got back, she smelled faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. I asked, calm as I could, "How were the girls?" She smiled, setting her purse down. "Oh, you know, wine, gossip, the usual. We should all go out sometime." I nodded slowly. We should. The next morning, I checked her phone while she was in the shower. I knew it was wrong. I didn't care. The passcode had changed, but not enough. I guessed the new one on the third try. There it was. Messages from a contact saved under Ava, Yoga. Ava, Yoga next weekend again? Emily, yes. He's got no clue. I feel bad sometimes. Ava, Yoga, you deserve to be happy. Emily, he's good to me, but he's so dull. With you, everything feels alive. My stomach dropped. Ava wasn't a woman. I scrolled further up, photos, videos, voice notes. All from Chris. She'd changed his name, hidden him behind someone I'd never suspect. When she came out of the shower, towel in her hair, she smiled at me like nothing had changed. Coffee. I just looked at her and said, "Sure, make it strong." That evening, I copied every message, every photo, and sent them to myself. I didn't confront her yet. I needed the truth, not just pieces. But I did ask one question before bed. Do you ever feel guilty lying to me?" She laughed softly, brushing her hair. "What a strange question, Danny." And in that moment, I knew she wasn't scared of being caught. She didn't even think she could be. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling while Emily breathed softly beside me, her phone face down on the nightstand, screen lighting up every few minutes. I thought about every morning coffee, every love you text, every time I defended her when people called her distant. By sunrise, the calm inside me had curdled into something sharp. I wasn't going to yell or break things. I wanted the truth, every rotten inch of it. When she woke up, I was already in the kitchen. "We need to talk," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "About what?" I held up my phone and opened the messages, the ones between her and Ava, Yoga. The color drained from her face, then came back in a rush of red. "You went through my phone," she said, voice rising, offended, angry, like I'd been the one sneaking around. "Yes," I said evenly, "because I wanted to meet your yoga instructor." For a moment, she just stood there, jaw clenched, mind racing. Then came the first desperate lie. "It's not what it looks like. Chris and we were just talking. I didn't want to worry you." "Talking," I repeated. "At a restaurant. At his house. While you're wearing the necklace he bought you." Her hands shook slightly. "You don't understand, Daniel. Things were complicated. He helped me when I felt lost. I made a mistake, but it wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything." I stared at her. "You told him you loved him." She blinked rapidly, like that word burned. Then came the performance. Tears. Shaking hands. I was confused. You've been so busy, and I needed to feel seen again. But it's over now. It meant nothing, I swear. I wanted to believe her. I really did. There's a strange part of you that wants the lie to be true, just so the pain makes sense. She reached for me then, crying, voice trembling. Please, Danny, I can fix this. Don't leave me. You're everything. I don't even know why I did it. And for one terrible second, I hesitated. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. If she told you it's over, check her email drafts. She's planning to meet him Friday. My stomach turned to ice. I looked up at her, mascara streaked, tears glistening, and said quietly, "You're still lying." Her face twisted, the tears stopping midstream. "Why are you trying to destroy everything?" I said I was sorry. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and said, "No, you're just sorry I found out." Behind me, I heard her shouting my name, but it didn't sound like guilt anymore. It sounded like panic, like someone realizing the game was ending. I spent that night driving aimlessly, past gas stations and empty streets, until the sun came up. I parked by the lake we used to visit on weekends, the place where we'd planned to renew our vows one day. I sat there replaying every moment, every detail that didn't fit, until the pattern was impossible to ignore. She hadn't slipped once. She'd been rehearsing. Every alibi had been neat, every lie consistent. This wasn't a single mistake, it was a lifestyle. When I finally went home, she was waiting on the couch, eyes puffy, wrapped in one of my hoodies like she thought wearing it might undo everything. "I couldn't sleep," she whispered. "Please, Daniel, let's just talk." I stayed standing. "Then tell me the truth. All of it." She hesitated, then started weaving another web. "Chris, he wasn't just a fling. It started before our anniversary. But it's over now, I swear. I told him never to contact me again." "Then why's his name on your joint credit card statement from last week?" I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed. "That wasn't me. I lent him my card for—" "Stop." She froze. The silence stretched so long I could hear the clock ticking. Then she broke down again, sliding off the couch, kneeling at my feet, grabbing my hands. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I messed up so badly. I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're my wife," I said quietly, "and you've been living two lives." Her tears came faster. "He made me feel alive. You used to, but everything got so predictable. I didn't mean to hurt you." It's strange how hearing the truth doesn't feel like relief. It feels like bleeding in slow motion. I pulled my hands free. "I found your other email," I said. "The one under your maiden name. The one where you've been sending him photos from our vacations. The one you used to book the hotel 2 hours from here." Her face went white. How did you?" "Doesn't matter," I said. "You were supposed to be visiting your sister that weekend." She started shaking, voice cracking. "I had to see him one last time. To end it. That's all." But I already knew better. I'd found the messages she didn't delete. Words like "can't wait to see you again," and "he still doesn't know." When I didn't answer, she grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "You're not perfect either, Daniel. You work too much. You stopped paying attention." There it was, blame dressed up as apology. I looked at her, the woman I thought I knew, and said, "If this is your version of love, I want no part of it." She covered her face, sobbing, "Please don't tell my parents." That made me pause. Why? Because in that moment, I realized her family had secrets too. And if I was going down this road, I was about to uncover all of them. When I said I'd tell her parents, Emily's reaction wasn't guilt. It was terror. She froze, eyes wide, like a child caught sneaking out of the house. "Daniel, please," she whispered. "You don't understand what that will do." "Oh, I think I do," I said. "But maybe they deserve to know who their daughter really is." Her family had always been unusual. Her mother, Caroline, could deliver a guilt trip smoother than a sermon, and her father, Richard, was a ghost, present but absent, always at work or on a call. They loved appearances. To them, marriage was less about love and more about the performance of it. I used to think they were just old-fashioned. Now, I realized they were experts at pretending. That evening, I called them. Caroline answered, voice sweet as frosting. "Danny, how's my favorite son-in-law?" "Actually," I said carefully, "we need to talk." The next afternoon, I drove over to their sprawling suburban home, the kind with a perfect lawn and a silent tension that hummed beneath the wallpaper. Emily was already there, sitting stiffly on the couch. Her mother's expression was a mixture of curiosity and annoyance, like she'd been dragged away from something more important. "What's all this fuss?" Caroline asked, pouring tea that nobody wanted. I took a deep breath. Emily's been seeing someone. For over a year. Her mother didn't blink. Not once. "Oh, Daniel," she sighed. "All marriages have rough patches. Don't make it bigger than it is." I blinked. She's been lying to me for months. That's not a rough patch. Emily started crying on cue, head in her hands. "Mom, please." But Caroline waved her off. "Sweetheart, stop dramatizing. You've always had a flair for that." "Daniel, dear, what she needs is patience, not punishment." I couldn't believe it. Patience. She cheated. Her father, silent until then, muttered, "We warned you she gets restless." Restless. That word hit like a slap. They weren't shocked. They weren't even ashamed. They knew. I looked at Emily, and she looked back at me with an expression I couldn't read, half defiance, half fear. Her mother leaned closer. "Daniel, marriage isn't about keeping score. It's about forgiveness. Don't let pride ruin your future." Something inside me broke then, not from anger, but from the absurdity of it all. "So the solution," I said slowly, "is to just pretend it never happened?" Caroline smiled gently. "Exactly. That's what family does." I stood up, heart pounding. "Then I guess I'm not family anymore." Emily followed me outside, barefoot, crying. "Daniel, wait. Please, don't do this. They don't understand." "They understand perfectly," I said. "They just taught you how to lie with a smile." And as I drove away, I realized her family hadn't corrupted her. They'd trained her. After that meeting with her parents, everything changed. Emily dropped the teary act and switched into survival mode. The soft apologies vanished. Now she was furious, defiant, a cornered liar turning sharp. When I got home that night, she was already there, pacing the living room with a glass of wine in her hand. "You humiliated me," she said before I could even close the door. I laughed, quietly, bitterly. "You humiliated yourself, Emily. I just told the truth." She slammed the glass down on the table, wine splashing across the wood. "You think you're some kind of saint? You're not perfect, Daniel. You never were. You're cold, boring, predictable. I needed to feel something again." "Then congratulations," I said, voice shaking. "You've destroyed everything that ever made you feel safe." She pointed a trembling finger at me. "You'll regret this. You think my parents will let you walk away clean? You've ruined their image." That word again, image. Everything with her family came down to appearances. What people thought mattered more than what people were. I didn't argue. I just walked past her into the office and opened my laptop. I started uploading everything I had, the screenshots, the messages, the photos, the receipts. Not for the internet, not for revenge porn or drama, for documentation, for proof. I wasn't going to shout or threaten. I was going to end this with precision. Over the next week, I prepared. I met with a lawyer, quiet man, older, with eyes that had seen every version of heartbreak. "If you have the evidence," he said, "you can protect yourself financially and legally. Just stay calm. Let her show who she really is." I didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, Emily showed up at my workplace. My coworkers saw her standing in the lobby, tears streaming down her face, clutching a wedding photo. "He's throwing me away for nothing," she sobbed, loud enough for everyone to hear. My manager pulled me aside, confused. "Daniel, is everything okay at home?" I could only nod. "It will be." That night, I came home to find she'd packed her things. Half the closet was empty, drawers stripped bare. On the counter was a note written in her perfect looping handwriting. "I'm leaving before you can destroy me. You'll regret this when you realize what you lost." I read it twice, then smiled, not because it didn't hurt, but because I finally saw her clearly. That letter wasn't about love or loss. It was a warning from someone who'd lost control. And for the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt awake. 2 days after she left, I expected silence. Peace. Maybe sadness. Instead, I got chaos. My phone buzzed nonstop. Her friends texting, her mother calling from 3 different numbers, her brother leaving voice messages that all started with, "You don't know what you're doing, man." They said I was being cruel, that she'd made mistakes but didn't deserve to be publicly shamed. Publicly shamed? I hadn't told anyone. Then it clicked. Emily was spinning a new story. She'd gone to everyone first, claiming I was controlling, jealous, and had emotionally abandoned her. A few even believed it. I saw a mutual friend post some vague quote about forgiveness and toxic men who can't let go. For a moment, I wanted to disappear. But then I remembered. I had the truth. And this time, I wasn't going to whisper it. That Friday was our wedding anniversary. Irony, right? She'd texted earlier that morning. Maybe we can talk tonight. For closure. I'll come by. I said yes. But I had my own plan. When she arrived that evening, she looked flawless. Hair done. Perfume heavy. The same necklace from Chris glinting in the light. She smiled sweetly. You look tired, Danny. We can still fix this. Can we? I asked, setting down a small envelope. Because I've been fixing things all week. Want to see? She frowned, confused. I handed her the envelope. Inside, printed photos of her and Chris, hotel invoices, and a USB drive. She looked through them, her face draining of color. Where did you get these? She whispered. Your cloud account. You forgot to log out. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw the name flash on the screen. Chris, work contact. Go ahead, I said calmly. Answer him. She shoved the phone into her purse, trying to recover. You're being cruel, Daniel. I told you it's over. Then why's he calling? She glared at me. Then, almost instantly, her face softened into tears. Because he can't let me go? I told him we're done. I'm here, aren't I? Doesn't that mean anything to you? I didn't move. No, Emily. It doesn't. She dropped to her knees again, just like before. Please, Danny, don't do this. I love you. I'll prove it. I'll block him. I'll delete everything. I looked down at her, mascara streaked, voice trembling, and felt nothing but quiet. You can delete all the files in the world, I said, but you can't erase what you did. Then, from the hallway, another voice spoke. My sister, Emma. She stepped into the room holding her phone, eyes cold. You really should stop lying, Emily. I just got off the phone with Chris's wife. Emily froze. His wife. Emma nodded. Turns out you're not the only secret he's been keeping. And that was the moment Emily's entire act fell apart. Emily's face went pale. For a second, I thought she might faint. His wife? She whispered, her voice cracking like glass. Emma crossed her arms. Yeah, married. 2 kids. Suburban dream. She found your messages months ago. Turns out Chris told her you were just some unstable coworker who wouldn't leave him alone. Emily shook her head, trembling. That's not true. He said he was divorced. Right, Emma said dryly. He also said his mom was sick, and that's why he couldn't text you for days. He's a liar, Em. Just like you. Emily staggered to the couch and sat down hard, staring at the floor. Her whole body seemed to deflate. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't know. I sat opposite her, my voice calm. So the man you threw away your marriage for lied to you the same way you lied to me. Her eyes darted to me, glassy and desperate. Danny, please. You have to believe me. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Emma scoffed. You meant all of it. You just didn't expect to lose control of the story. Emily started crying again, big, heaving sobs that shook her shoulders. I loved you, Daniel. I swear I did. I just got lost. I thought he understood me. I thought. You thought you could have both, I said quietly. A husband who kept you safe and a lover who made you feel alive. She didn't answer. She just buried her face in her hands, mumbling apologies that didn't sound like apologies at all. Then Emma handed me her phone. You might want to see this. It was a message from Chris's wife. I'm sorry for everything your family's going through. My husband confessed. He says Emily knew he was married but didn't care. I have proof if you need it. When I looked up, Emily's face was frozen, caught between shock and guilt. She's lying, she gasped. He's turning it all on me. You can't believe her. I sighed, exhausted. Emily, I don't need to believe her. I've seen enough. She got up, pacing the room, running her hands through her hair. You can't do this to me. You can't just ruin my life over one mistake. One mistake. I repeated. You built an entire life on lies. She turned to Emma. Please, tell him to stop. I can fix this. I'll make it right. Emma shook her head slowly. You don't fix a hurricane, Emily. You just rebuild after it's gone. And then Emily broke. Not a dramatic movie sob, something worse. Small, broken sounds. The kind that come from someone realizing the truth isn't done taking things from them yet. That was the last time I saw her as the woman I married. What stood in front of me now was a stranger surrounded by the wreckage she created. I stood up, looked at her one last time, and said softly, "You should go." She blinked through her tears. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Home," I said. "Wherever that is now." She left that night with a small suitcase and no words. The door clicked behind her like the end of a chapter. And for the first time in months, my house didn't feel haunted. It just felt quiet. The morning after she left, I woke up before sunrise. The air in the house felt different, lighter, but eerily still. The kind of quiet you don't realize you've been craving until you finally hear it. For the first time in months, I didn't wake up to the smell of her perfume or the buzz of her phone lighting up with work messages that weren't work. I brewed coffee, sat by the window, and just breathed. No lies, no noise, no pretending. My parents came by later that afternoon. My mom, always the gentle soul, brought a basket of muffins like it was the cure for heartbreak. "You look thinner," she said softly, touching my cheek. My dad, ever the realist, just sat down, folded his hands, and said, "So, it's done." "It's done," I said quietly. He nodded. "Good. Now start living again. Don't give her another minute of your peace." Easier said than done, but he was right. The next few weeks were strange. Word spread fast. Small towns always talk. Some people reached out of pity, others out of curiosity. Her family went silent, which was fine by me. Emma told me that Emily had moved in with her parents temporarily, and that even they were struggling to defend her. I didn't ask for details. The story was finished on my end. What I didn't expect was the guilt that followed, not for losing her, but for still caring, even after everything. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just destroy trust. It makes you question your own judgment. So I started doing small things to remind myself that I still had control. I sold the car we'd bought together and used the money to buy an old motorcycle I'd always wanted. It was scratched and temperamental, but it was mine. I spent nights in the garage fixing it up, the smell of oil and metal replacing the ghost of her perfume. A month later, I took my first solo trip, just me, the bike, and an endless stretch of highway. Somewhere between the wind and the white lines, the ache started to fade. And then one morning, I stopped at a diner off Route 66. The waitress poured me coffee and smiled. "You look like you've seen some things." I laughed for the first time in weeks. That moment, small as it was, felt like a turning point. I realized healing doesn't come as one big, cinematic epiphany. It comes quietly, like the first deep breath after months of holding your lungs hostage. When I got home, I framed one photo from that trip, sunrise over an empty road, and hung it where our wedding picture used to be. A reminder that some endings are really just detours to better places. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be honest, and you can't rebuild trust on ashes. To anyone reading this who's been where I've been, don't waste your heart trying to understand why they lied. Use that energy to rebuild what's left of you. Because the truth hurts once. Lies hurt forever. And I've had enough of forever. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.